Welcome to the Ultimate Pattern Builder Indicator Guide, where I will show you how to build any pattern. You will learn all the parameters of the indicator and how to test it in the strategy tester. So now we can see MetaTrader 4 terminal with open chart EUR/USD 1 hour time frame. Let's first zoom in. I will choose one candle for our example. Let's open indicator. Go to View and then click on Strategy Tester. Here you can choose between indicators or expert advisors. We choose indicator. Now select indicator you want to use. Go for indicator properties. First, let's focus on general settings. All parameters that we deal with are in this column. Those three parameters are for general activation of candles in pattern, case A and case B. You can set it to true, enabling first candle, or false, disabling first candle. Best is to let it true permanent for all three candles. Next parameter is show signal. It is meant for choosing what candle to show. Number represents which candle to show in the pattern. For example, 1 stands for first candle, therefore indicator, scanner EA, will show you just first candle on the chart. When there are more numbers, it stands for candle 1 and candle 2, both gets their own mark. And when we have 3 numbers, it marks every candle in the pattern separately. Regarding anything with number 4, it is implemented for special purpose, which I will explain later at Expert Advisor. For now, let's focus on just one, that is first candle. When you understand how to build first candle, you will also understand other two. If first 3 parameters are for general activation of candles, next 6 parameters are for each candle for each case. This parameter means that we can enable or disable first candle in pattern case A. Please note that in order that second candle in pattern works, first must be enabled. First candle for case B can stay disabled for now because firstly I will show you logic of case A, and because first candle case B is false, candle 2 and 3 will be automatically disabled. Fifth parameter is extra parameter, which is still in the works, so it's best to leave it disabled. Now let's return to our candle and try to build it with the indicator. First, let's remove other candles from the screen. Now I will separate candle and the characteristics. Finally, let's split the candle on 3 parts. Now let's look at the parameters for first candle case A. First part of candle structure is to decide candle direction, which can be bullish, bearish or all, both directions. Since our candle has bearish body, we make that choice. Let's calculate value of this bearish body. We can easily determine if body is bullish or bearish if open price has higher value than close, then it's bearish. How to calculate body value? Just look at the real actual difference between open and close price. Now when we know exact body value, we can go and set suitable value in the indicator. We have 2 fields for body value. We can insert any number we want. First field is for greater and less option. So greater or less goes into that field. But when we're using between option, both fields are used. So first field, first candle body points, represents minimum value, and second field, first candle body between points, represents maximum value. It is like a combination of greater and less. First field is greater, second field is less. And now to finally build body, let's first use function of greater value. Lowest value can be 0, so greater than 0 would mean that indicator would find that body and almost all others. If 0 is the lowest value that we can insert, 23 points is maximum value to still find our body. Next, let's use function of less value. Lowest value to still find our body is 25 points. Maximum value would be infinity, for example 10,000 points. Last function left to use for body is between value. First, let's insert minimum value of the between function. For first value, we can set anything from 0 to 24. Between works as exact value, so 24 counts as 24, nor greater, not less. Second value must be at least 24 or more. Example 1. Get any value possible. Example 2. Get any value that is body or less. Example 3. Get exact value of the body. Example 4. Get any value that is body or greater. Next, let's calculate value of upper wick. How to calculate upper wick? Just look at real actual difference between high and open. Now when we know exact upper wick value, we can go and set suitable value in the indicator. Same as for body, we have two fields for upper wick, where we can insert any number we want. And also we have greater, less or between to choose, and it works the same as for body. Now let's build upper wick. First I will use function of greater value. Lowest value can be 0 and highest value to still find upper wick should be 8. Next, let's use function of less value. Highest value can be anything, but lowest value for upper wick to still be found is 9. Last function left to use for upper wick is between value. Example 1. Exact value to find just upper wick with 8 points. Example 2. Get any value that is upper wick or less. Example 3. Get any value possible. Example 4. Get any value that is upper wick or greater. Last, let's calculate value of lower wick. How to calculate lower wick? Just look at real actual difference between low and close. Now when we know exact lower wick value, we can go and set suitable value in the indicator. Same as for upper wick, we have two fields for lower wick where we can insert any number we want. And also we have greater, less or between to choose, and it works the same as for upper wick. Now let's build lower wick. First we will use function of greater value. Lowest value can be 0. And highest value to still find lower wick should be 24. Next, let's use function of less value. Highest value can be anything, but lowest value for lower wick to still be found is 25. Last function left to use for lower wick is between value. Example 1. Exact value to find just lower wick with 24 points. Example 2. Get any value that is upper wick or less. Example 3. Get any value possible. Example 4. Get any value that is upper wick or greater. Now the settings for first candle are done. Next step is to set up other parameters. One thing we need is correct currency pair. You can see in the left up corner there is Euro-USD. Another thing is time frame. Spread is not important for this indicator. I suggest to choose middle precision, control points, because it finds the same candles and is relatively fast. Of course, you need to set the correct time period. I will set it from New Year on. If you are new to Strategy Taster, you might wonder where is the speed control bar. With this, you can change speed of scanning or even pause it. Now we are all set, so just press start. First, I changed type of bars to candlesticks. Next, I changed background. Then I shifted speed bar to fastest. Now searching is complete. You can see green marks above candlesticks. They represent candles that are within parameters we set. We can change color and size of marks. Let's change it to red and width to level 3. It can happen that everything just goes away. In this case, just start scanner again and change color again. And that is it. That's our candle. Let's build second candle. I will take next candle, which is beside our first candle, with red mark. I will set parameters with greater option. Close price is above open, so that means we have bullish candle. Difference between open and close is 93 points, so I will set second candle body points to greater than 92 points. Difference between close and high is 6 points, so I will set second candle upper wick points to greater than 5 points. Difference between open and low is 3 points, so I will set second candle lower wick points to greater than 2 points. Let's build third candle. Our third candle is also bullish. I will set parameters with less option. Difference between open and close is 13 points, so I will set third candle body points to less than 14 points. Difference between close and high is 12 points, so I will set third candle upper wick points to less than 13 points. Difference between open and low is 44 points, so I will set third candle lower wick points to less than 45 points. Now all three candles are built. Let's make sure everything else is okay. Every candle in general and every candle in case A has to be enabled. We also need to set what candle to show. For purpose of this guide, I will set to show all three candles. Now just to set everything. And last thing, to make bigger size. Here you have all three candles for case A. Case A is done, so it's time to look at case B. I will explain it on same candles so you can compare it. Case B is much more useful than case A. As you will see it, one setup can be used for any time frame or pair. It is because it operates with percentage, and candles are compared to each other. First we open indicator properties and focus on general settings. First three parameters should be true permanent. For now we will focus on candle 1. We don't need case A, so just disable first candle of case A and other two will be disabled automatically. For case B, just enable all three candles. Next, building candle 1. Here we have settings for first candle structure. Body candle settings. Upper wick candle settings. Lower wick candle settings. Before direct candle settings, we need to set special setting which is part of the body. We can use points or average. You choose points, then you can insert value in this row. Points works the same as in case A. Whatever value you choose, it is used for body. Second option is average, which can be tied to all bodies and wicks. It can be inserted in the row below points. Value represents number of candlesticks that are taken for average calculation. For explanation of average, I will use last candle before our first candle that we used for case A. What is average? It is average true range value of past candlesticks. Average true range is difference between high and low of the candle. So for average is also important how many candles we take into the calculation. Here is example of calculation for 4 candles. Let's see how average is applied for our first candle. First example, average is set to 1. That means that only last candle before our first candle in pattern is taken for average calculation. Average for this one candle we already calculated. But another way, which is more useful when having more than one candle, is applying average through range indicator. Go to Insert, then Indicators, and then you can choose Average through range. If you want average for one candle, then input number 1. Now we need to read the value under last candle of our measured average. That means we read value under blue marked candle. By the way, I clicked middle mouse. With red I marked how you can read value by pointing cursor on blue line. That is the line of the indicator. With blue I marked how you can read value by moving cursor and using middle mouse button. As you can see it, average value is around 60 points. This indicator does round the number. 62 is exact value. Now you know how to check average through range. So let's look at another example of past 10 candles. Now insert number 10 in the indicator period field. I will just delete previous one. And now point with mouse under last candle of past 10 candles, that is also last candle before our first candle in the pattern. Value that we get is around 140 points. Actually it says 14, but that means 14 pips. But to get more general value, I will take longer average period with past 100 candles average value. Confirm settings. Delete previous indicator window. Insert average through range indicator. And set period to 100. Move mouse cursor under last candle of that 100 average period. And finally, we can read average value of 8 pips, which is 80 points. That's it for average. It's time to build candle. Open indicator properties and scroll down to first candle case B settings. We choose average and 100 candles for average. For direction, we choose bearish. It is explained at case A. Body of the candle represents 30% of the average. Because 1 represents 100%, we insert 0.3 to get 30%. We could use many combinations, like greater than 0, but maximum is 0.3. That means 30%. Next option that we can use is less. Minimum value to find our body is less than 0.4. And last option is between. Strict combination. Between 30% and 40%. Half strict combination, between 0% and 40%. Opposite half combination, between 30% and 10,000%. Every value combination, between 0% and 10,000%. We can also use points instead of average. If we use 100 points, then body represents 24% of the points reference. Points can be only used for first candle's body, and to set the body the same logic applies as for average comparison. Let's continue with average. Principle of inputting percentage is the same for every part of candlestick, so I will just show you less option, in this case less than 20% of the average. Now to compare upper wick to candle's body, I will set to less than 40%. As regarding lower wick, I will use greater option. When compared to candle's body, I will use greater than 90%. After first candle is done, it's time for second. First we compare body to the average and set to be greater than 1.16. Secondly, we can compare body to first candle's body and set to be greater than 3.87. Next is upper wick, which we firstly compare to average and set to be less than 0.08. Secondly, compare upper wick to first candle's body and set to be less than 0.26. And lastly, compare upper wick to second candle's body and set to be less than 0.07. And now to set lower wick, which we firstly compare to average and set to be less than 0.06. Secondly, compare lower wick to first candle's body and set to be less than 0.17. And lastly, compare lower wick to second candle's body and set to be less than 0.05. And finally, our last candle in the pattern. Now we have three options for body, comparing to average, first or second body. First, I choose average comparison and less than 0.17. Comparing to first candle's body, I choose greater than 0.53. And lastly, comparing to second candle's body, I choose less than 0.14. Now we have third candle case B, upper wick. Firstly, I compare it to average with less than 0.16. Comparison to first candle's body is greater than 0.49. Comparison to second candle's body is less than 0.13. Comparison to third candle's body is greater than 0.91. And last part of the pattern, lower wick of third candle. Firstly, comparison to average is less than 0.56. Comparison to first candle's body is greater than 1.82. Comparison to second candle's body is greater than 0.46. Very last comparison to third candle's body is less than 3.39. All is left to run strategy tester and see the result. Here you can see there are different default colors than in case A. And that is it for Ultimate Pattern Builder Indicator Guide. Next is Ultimate Pattern Builder Expert Advisor Guide.